Okay, remember that they're changing my voice. The fact of the matter is that there are many, many people who are working together to raise hell and to slaughter people all around the world, including here in America. There are over 2 million preventable deaths every year here in America, and it is part of a calculated process. They use marketing, they use social clubs and corporations, they're very much in the government. Even both the political parties are trying to scapegoat the other parties by saying that they have spies for foreign nations in the government, which to some degree I'm sure is true. But it goes deeper than that, and the problem is worse than that. It's much, much, much worse than that. That's why I have the hell-raising pictures on the screen. There are people raising hell in this country, and they are slaughtering people. They're not just white or Jewish or LGBT, okay? These are people who aren't just gay, they're not just straight, they are all types of people. And they are in groups that are best described as Luciferian groups of the Luciferian doctrine, satanic cults, groups that think like this. And they're also in the churches. One of their favorite angles to play is to play the religious angle and to even scream Satanism, right? It's like they're crying wolf in a sense while they are the wolf. And they are massacring people. Now some of you might say, well, this is nothing new. But how do you address the problem? You first get people to acknowledge the problem. Remember when Charlie Kirk was killed? Right before that, he used to tell people, hey, let's agree on certain terms so we can be on the same page. Right? What is racism? How do you define racism? How do you define this or that? Okay? So we have to define the problem correctly, and so we know that we're talking about the same thing, because they're trying to confuse things. You know, I've seen people argue that the only threats to them are like feminism and socialism and, and left-wing, agendas, what have you. So people are they're not defining the threats correctly. The threats are coming from both parties. They're coming from the governing class. They're coming from the upper class, the middle class, the lower class to some degree. Satanists are everywhere. I've been saying this for years. Okay, when I first said that phrase on record, probably was maybe 2014 or so. I don't remember the exact date, but I've been saying it for years and years and years. And when I said it then, I had done a lot of research leading up to that, and I've been sabotaged thoroughly. They even edited my videos after the fact. Satanists working together on various platforms, okay, with the government turning a blind eye to it, the government helping them, covertly edit my videos to make it so that I seem weird. But from what I gather, they haven't changed the wording very much, if at all, at this point. At the end of the day, remember that God is known and exalted by his acts of justice, by his righteous acts, universal righteousness, universal virtue, universal morality, moral absolutes. You have to beware of white social norms. For example, there's a difference between the Constitution as defined by white supremacists who speak in all kinds of coded language, use all kind of coded language, and universal righteousness. Okay, America is not supposed to be a country where certain races hoard wealth with some token minorities and say, hey, he slipped through the cracks. It's not supposed to be a country where the top 50% use every dirty trick in the book to hoard, $94 trillion more in the last 10 years alone, while the bottom 50% is suffering. That is not just. That's not a valid application of the Equal Protection Clause of the Constitution, which should limit all economic legislation to social justice, universal, not left-wing radical twisting, not conservative in sheep's clothes, left-wing, not conservative explanation, but universal, morally precise social justice based legislation. Obviously there needs to be lots of oversight and citizen committees, and that may not be enough, but it certainly would do a lot, and it's like the best that can be done. Ideally, people would put me in charge to make sure that the most moral person that ever lived is in charge of the process. But one way or another, with or without me, there should be these plans with lots of oversight. Now, I'm the type of person that when it comes to people, I'm very cynical, I'm very pessimistic, I'm very skeptical. I do not believe that they're going to do anything anywhere near the right thing. And what I say to all these people channeling demons, these people who come into the psychological processes, the generational psychological processes of channeling demons, is come out of Babylon's system, come out of the Roman system, come out of the Greek system, come out of the Nordic system, come out of all the pagan systems, any pagan system from any Asian, African, any pagan system, Native American. Come out of these systems and come into universal pinpoint and moral precision. Why should you default with the ways of the flesh of your people merely over who you're related to? If you're related to Charles Manson, would you follow in his footsteps? If you're related to Jeffrey Dahmer, if he made it seem like it was right, look at it in terms of universal pinpoint and moral precision. Don't let your pride be your downfall. The Bible says pride comes before a fall. Don't let it be your downfall. I know some of you are very attached to your traditions. You feel like it's all that you have of your people. You feel like it's the only thing that matters to you. But universal pinpoint and moral precision, in that is the truth. And the truth will set you free. They're doing all kinds of things to try to take away from my videos. Okay? But the truth is you need to rally and obey God through me. The solution, the soul you shun. People are raising hell. I can tell you that with certainty. I've been saying it for years. They have no viable counter-argument. I've posted, some discussions over the years, some debates, and I've won them all. Okay? And people from their view, they've seen these videos and they didn't know what to say because I'm right and they're wrong. They try to beat around the bush, try to overgeneralize, oversimplify, create straw man argument, gaslight, but I've made it clear that I'm right. What motivates me is universal pinpoint and moral precision. I make my pitch that I should lead based on universal pinpoint and moral precision. I make my pitch to women. I make my pitch in terms of my timeline in life. That's what matters. Righteousness is greater than wealth. I even had it on a bumper sticker. That is how I live my life. I walk in the light. I walk in the way of righteousness along the paths of justice. I walk in the path of the prudent. And I refuse to follow the wicked. And they use every childish trick to try to cheat me out of my right to lead. So what was the movie Hellraiser about? In a nutshell, it was about people who are ugly inside. It's a metaphor, right? It's a figurative movie about people who are ugly inside, who have a lot of power in the system, and the deities they bring about in their collective formations, like a group of people coming together, doing a ritual, living life the same way, cult and cultivation and culture, and projecting and living and channeling. And from out of their being comes the wicked essence of demons that they think make their lives better as they cause all kinds of people to get raped and murdered. Part of their ritual process is to kill. That's part of their channeling of the Greek demons, the Greek deities, the Baal deities. That's part of the process. Now some of you might say, well, we know this already. Well, I'm here to test the inhabitants of the earth. When my flesh dies, they'll be sealed in hell, and how much they cook forever and what kind of miserable lives they have here will be determined by how they respond to the orders that come from God through me. The sabotage doesn't change anything. Their attempts to hack my brain and interfere with my videos just overkills that you must run, not walk, to rally to me. And people use any stupid excuse to cheat me out of my right to lead. They will cook to the extreme. And people who try to dissuade others will cook to the extreme. Their souls, and that's what matters most. Look at things in terms of moral success versus failure. Ver and virtue means man, and there's universal virtue. They've done lots of studies of lots of cultures. What people think is right and what people think is wrong tends to be the same thing. Why is that? Why does Luke 12:57 say, why don't you judge for yourselves what is right?